Hey guys, it's Adam from ATP Powerlifting again. Today we're going to go over knee wraps, how to use them, how to wrap them, and the differences in length, in material, and what's going to work best for you. So let's get right into it. First, let's go over the different lengths. There's 2 meter knee wraps, which is most popular in the USAPL. The USAPL does not offer raw with wraps, so if you do want to wear wraps, you do have to compete in gear, aka a bench shirt, squat suit, briefs, etc. Next, we're going to go to 2.5 meter wraps, so we're getting longer. A federation that uses a 2.5 is like USPA. This is a 2.5. Those are 2.5. The next is going to be 3 meter wraps. Those are 3 meters. Again, they're a little bit longer. And federations like SPF and RPS are going to use 3 meter wraps. So the size that you should get for wraps, 2, 2.5, or 3 meter wraps should be dictated by the powerlifting federation that you want to compete in. I do want to clarify, if you're someone who does not plan on competing, it is important to note that you will get much more weight out of your squat using a 3 meter wrap than you will with a 2 meter wrap, and so on. So if you're someone who just wants to squat as most as you can, you don't plan on competing, you probably want to go with a 3 meter wrap, although it is harder to learn, there is more material, there's a lot more material behind the knee, and it can be more painful and harder to hit depth. Another question that I get asked frequently is, well, okay, so now we know how many meters a wrap should be, but what kind of wrap should I get? You can get on there, kind of get lost on the internet, and there's stretchy, there's cast, you have all these people using all these different words, and you don't really understand the difference between a stretchy wrap or a cast wrap, and etc. So I'd say most of the time, most beginners, or not even a beginner, but someone switching into wraps for the first time, should start with a wrap that's softer. Usually a softer wrap is also a wrap that is more stretchy. So if you look at this wrap, let me just get a piece of the material. When we stretch it, it stretches a lot. So this is going to be the most cast wrap that I have. Cast meaning it doesn't just flap over, it has a lot of material to it. You see how this one's kind of limp? And this cast wrap, look at how much stretch it has to it. I'll try to grab about the same amount of material and stretch it. A lot less stretch. This is going to be a more painful wrap. It's going to be harder to learn. It's also important to realize that usually people who respond better to a cast wrap that has less stretch is someone who's going to have a slower descending squat. If you use a stretchier wrap, so this one's right in between. This is my go-to wrap. This is a Lillian Bridge wrap. You can see that it's in the middle. It's still cast a little bit, not as cast as those ones, but it's still much more cast than the stretchiest ones I have. Those are what I learned in. And then it still has quite a bit of stretch to it compared to the yellow and red ones on the end. So I'm a fast descending squatter, so I like something that has some stretch into it. So when I get down into the bottom and I'm coming down, I get that nice pop, almost like an exaggerated stretch reflex out of the bottom. Someone who's a very slow descending squatter, they're coming down, knees out, knees out, knees out, down, 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 isn't gonna benefit from having a lot of stretch in the wrap because they're not coming down fast enough to get that stretch reflex out of the muscle or the wrap. So it's gonna depend on the level that you're at, the type of wrap you get. Again, a beginner should get something that's softer and a little bit more stretch. Once you figure out how to wrap and everything like that, it should be decided what wrap you get by the kind of squatter you are and what feels the best. So usually a fast descending squatter is going to like something with a little more stretch, but that being said, you still want something that has a little bit of cast to it once you do get used to those initial stretchy wraps. I said these are the first wraps that I got. They are. I did not learn in these. I actually learned in this style of wraps, and the first 2 months I thought I was gonna die. It was the most painful thing I had. Felt like I had sunburn all over my legs. every single day. By the time it got better, I was using the wraps again, and about 6 weeks out from my meet, I decided I just couldn't put up with getting these any tighter than they already were. I went to the stretchy or softer wrap, and I had no problems at all, and then I upgraded to the Lillian wraps, which I absolutely love. So let's go over the fun part now. How do you wrap your knees? There's many ways to wrap your knees. The way I'm going to show you is the most common. It's the one that I'm the most comfortable with. It's the one that I feel is the best for most individuals. So you might find a different way to wrap your knees, like a West Side style wrap or something. You might like that more. That's not for me. I'm going to show you what I like. We're going to start off by chalking part of our leg. You don't always need to do this. I usually do this right before a heavy squat. Kind of keeps the wrap from moving around, almost skipping on you a little bit. So I always put some chalk on the kneecap itself and below the knee where the patella tendon is. I go on the side, across the quad, behind the knee. It's just always what I do. Some of it has some reasoning behind it, like below the patella, but a lot of it's just that what seems to work the best. And I definitely see a difference chalking versus not chalking. So we're gonna take, this is a 2.5 meter wrap. Depending on the meter wrap you have, you're gonna be able to go more revolutions. You're gonna be able to do more with the wrap rather than if you have a short wrap. So this one's in between. You wanna make sure that you're wrapping outward. Now, some people will go ahead and tell you wrapping outward makes your knees wanna track out. I don't know if that's necessarily true or not, but if we're gonna wrap it in one direction, why even take a chance to just wrap out? So the position we're gonna be in, we're gonna pull the foot up. If someone's wrapping your knee, you might even have them in front of you trying to push your toe up for you. What pushing the toe up does is it does the opposite of flexing the calf, which would make it bigger. It lengthens the calf. So what does that do when it lengthens it? It makes the muscle smaller, you can get the wrap tighter, and that'll give you just a little bit more benefits out of the wrap. The next thing we're gonna do before we wrap is we're gonna flex the quad. Why do we flex the quad? Watch the kneecap. See how the kneecap moves around? Hopefully you can see that. When we flex the quad, we can no longer move the kneecap. This is important, especially when we're wrapping tight. We don't wanna take the wrap and start pulling the kneecap in one direction. So it's very important that you keep your quad flexed the entire time. When you first start wrapping your knees, it's going to be hard to do it yourself, keeping your foot up, flexing your quad, and thinking about how to wrap, but just work on it, do your best. So again, we're gonna start below the knee, right on this patella tendon. We're gonna pull it, put some stretch into it, right? I'm not just gently putting it down, getting some stretch into it. I'm coming around full tension. And then from there, the wrap will get stuck. So then we can dedicate 2 hands to actually wrapping. You can see foot still up, quad is still flexed. We're gonna go around 4 times. That was 1 already. So 2, we're keeping tension the whole time we're wrapping around. 3, so even when I'm back here pulling, there's still tension on the wrap, never letting off. If you let off, you're not gonna get as much out of the wrap. That was 4, I think, 4? Yeah, that's 4, because I'm up past the initial point I usually go up to, starting to the top of the quad. Then I go across and make an X. Depending on how tight you make the knee wrap is gonna dictate how much material you have as well. So right now, I'm on a light wrap. So we're gonna go down around the knee once, so you see it's a diagonal motion, and then back up around, and tuck underneath. If it's not a tight wrap, I like to just barely tuck underneath like that so that I can just boom, pop it free. If I was going up for a max attempt, it would be tighter than this. I'd get 1 more revolution, but I'd be pulling up really tight on this. Just in training, I like to leave a little loop to it like so I can just pull it free, okay? So I'm gonna show you what that looks like if I go tighter, and I'll do the other leg so I don't have to rewrap that one. Foot up, quad flexed. I don't wanna chalk this leg too, but you would chalk this leg around the patella tendon. We're gonna stretch and we're going outwards. We're gonna go up 4, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. This one's gonna be a little tighter, it's gonna be more so a medium. We're gonna make a X, and you see I'm pulling that slack out, getting all the slack out of the wrap, and then I know it's a medium wrap when I can get 4 up in X, and then lock in the last one. That's just straight around the top. And that would be my complete wrap. Again, if you have 2 meters, you're probably not going to get this last locking wrap even when it's tight. If you have 3 meters, you can probably do another variation of a wrap, or you can go around your knee 5 times instead of 4. Another question I get, I don't know if you can see me, another question I get is, what are those wrap roller things? So you can see these ones, I just rolled up, right? I didn't do anything special, I just rolled up the wrap. If you're in competition especially, this is really the only time I do it, is in competition. When you roll the wrap, you want to roll and try to get some of that tension out of the wrap. So what that does is, instead of this one just being easily rolled, and you have to stretch all this tension, watch how much this goes around, boom, and then I'm here and I pull, and I have to get all that tension out of the wrap. If you pre-roll the wrap, you eliminate most of that. That also usually helps you get the wrap tighter. So rather than just rolling this up, a lot of people do this with a wrap roller or a special tool. I don't have that, so I'll do it with my hands. I'm gonna pull with my foot, get some tension out of this, and try to pull all the tension out of the wrap and start rolling. And it's important to note that you don't want your foot really far away, because then you're trying to pull the tension out of this whole wrap rather than just a little section. And you don't want to wear yourself out before the lift. I usually make my training partner do this. Luckily they do it when I ask. So we're gonna roll, go through this whole thing. Not sure how long it takes. I guess I'll find out once this video's over. So I grab it, foot straight down, pull the tension out, and start wrapping down again. Same thing, I got that section, put my foot down, pull, get the next one. Starts to get too big for my hands, so I have to start putting my hands on the outside. And if you don't get a forearm pump from this, you're doing it wrong. Same thing, pull, stretch. Wow, this kind of sucks, I forgot. I haven't done this in a while. Yeah, if you have the money, go ahead, buy a wrap roller. I've seen people make wrap rollers out of drills and stuff like that. Do whatever you want. But this is my go-to way. Normally, the more I do this, the easier it is. If I'm wrapping them myself or pre-rolling them, I gotta rest in between and rest before the lift again. So we're gonna get it all. And then from here, there's already tension. So when we go to start the wrap, same thing. Foot up, quad flex, boom, that's all the tension. Boom, that's all the tension. Rather than if I loosen this up and then pull, I have to pull a lot more slack out. Probably not gonna get it as tight. There's gonna be a lot more work for me to wrap my knees. And the time you do wanna save is between when you're wrapping your knees and going up the lift. So the less tired out you are in that section of time, the better. If you have someone to wrap your knees, that's cool too. One of the problems I've encountered is with a lot of different training partners and a lot of people who show up and don't show up. If you have one guy wrap your knees versus another guy, it's gonna be very inconsistent. If you have a training partner that's been there forever, for years, you trust him, he's always gonna be there. Sure, have him wrap your knees, but I just like to be able to stay more consistent with wrapping. I wrap my knees the same exact way every single time. My first meet, I did have someone wrap my knees that I was training with for about a year. The second meet, I didn't have that consistent person, so I wrapped myself. So I was tired, it was hard to time it before I went up on the platform, but it all worked out. I got an all-time PR, and I didn't have any curveballs thrown at me with someone wrapping my knee different or not wrapping it as tight or etc. So do what you can do consistently. So I was gonna stop there, but I decided I should probably show you with a 3 meter wrap. Those of you that have a 2 meter wrap, I haven't got those. I'm not competing in gear in the USAPL. So I'll show you the difference between what the 2.5 wrap looked like versus the 3. Remember, I got 4 up in X and 1 to lock it in with the 2.5. We'll see how much I get on these ones. Again, these are a little less stretchy, but I should still get more. So start same way, up. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we make the X. Make the lock, and we still have all that material. So like I said, it's about one more revolution. You can go 4, instead of going 4 times up in the beginning, you can go 5. That would make up the difference. That's what I do when I wear 3 meters. So I hope that helped you out, showing you the difference between 2.5 and a 3. It's about 1 revolution. Again, it might depend on if you have a stretchy 3 meter or a 2 meter. I don't know if you can see me up there. A 2 meter that's cast could be way different, but that gives you a general sense of the difference between the 2 lengths. And I wanted to show you just the strategy with the pliers. If you are having problems getting the wrap through with your hands, that last part to just get the wrap from unlocking, I did buy these long needle nose pliers just for the wraps. So this is what you would do. Same thing. I'm just gonna bang it out real quick. And show you the plier part. There's X. So I know this is gonna be my last revolution, right? So I take the pliers, I stick the pliers in there. So then when this part comes around, you can grab it with the pliers and then pull up through your golden. Again, you can pull this all the way through, or if it's in training, I like to just leave it like this and I can pop the wrap off. So I think that's it. I think we covered all the basics. Length, how to wrap them, which ones to use, why, beginner, advanced, cast, stretchy, how you're wrapping the wrap, what you're doing with your leg. I hope that helped you out, and that's all from me. ATP out.